Studio. We welcome now Cheikh Taylor, chairman of the Mississippi Democratic Party, representative of the Mississippi House District 37, which includes Clay, Lowndes, and Oktibbeha County, serves as the vice chair of the House Constitution Committee. Representative Taylor, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Good to see you again, matter of fact.
So, sounds like congratulations are in order. You're going to continue to lead the Democratic Party in the state of Mississippi.
Well, it seems that way. Yeah, just went through an additional election process with a great mentor of mine, a great man, a wonderful attorney, Mr. Wilbur Colomb, and just kind of edged that out a little bit and back in the driver's seat for 4 years.
What's on the radar for you now as continuing on as the chairman of the Democratic Party? What are your priorities?
Well, listen, there's a lot of work to be done. One of the efforts that we have to concentrate on is getting back to communicating on grassroots levels. We're in the process of making sure that we're expanding our caucuses, making sure that we are the party of the Big Ten, not just in name, but also in deed. And of course, raising some money so we can actually get Democrats elected up and down the ticket.
Gotcha. So we've got a crucial presidential election coming up, as you're well aware, this November, and there's been an awful lot of action, really, from both candidates, both primary candidates and parties, since you and I last spoke. What do you think about the current state of affairs on this election?
Well, I don't know. I know a lot of people like to defer to the debate. And to be honest, I don't know if that changed anyone's opinion of either candidate. I think it was an opportunity to kind of look at and listen. Let's just be very clear. We have to be mature voters. And so, if you're looking at that last debate and you're saying to yourself, "Oh my goodness, it's there's a cause for change or pause or anything like that," let's be very adamant to look at the record the last 4 years and compare both candidates. And I think when you do that, you can kind of say to yourself, well, listen, hey, I'm 50 years old. And sometimes I may have a gaffe or sometimes I may have a pause. But surely my track record should speak instead of that, a couple of seconds on airtime.
So I'm to assume from your analysis there that you believe Mr. Biden should remain the candidate in the race. You're not calling for him to bow out. Is that right?
No doubt at all. No doubt at all.
Okay.
In fact, every delegate from the state of Mississippi who will be traveling to Chicago to the DNC are emboldened by the last 4 years of his presidency and very excited about voting for him again.
What do you consider to be some key accomplishments and achievements during the last 3.5 years by this president?
You know what does not get enough airplay is actually the economy. The economy has rebounded from the days of COVID, and actually his first 2 years in office, we're actually looking at an uptick. I was doing a little research before I got online with you. And one of the things that kind of came out is that salary increases are outpacing inflation under the Biden administration in the first 3 years, and outperforming
wait,
any president.
That's actually not true. It's true over the last year, but it's not true over the full 3 years. Wages have not kept up. Over the last year, I agree with you, but over the full 3 years, wages have not kept up with the cumulative inflation. But please continue.
And of course, the cost of living has gone down. That's something that also needs to get a lot of airplay. And also crime. Crime is down around the country.
The cost of living has gone down. I'm interested in that. What's your source of that?
The source is actually Bloomberg. Bloomberg. And,
Bloomberg says the cost of living has gone down. Okay.
The cost of living has gone down. The rapid disinflation under Biden is unmatched in modern history. And these are indicators. These are indicators that are very important when you're trying to choose the next president of the United States.
Okay, so if just serious question, if we went out on the street
Sure.
here in Mississippi and just found the average person out there and said, hey, in the last 3 years, has the cost of living gone down for you? Do you believe they would respond consistent with the Bloomberg article and say, yeah, the cost of living's down for me?
Well, those numbers are actually across the nation. Here in Mississippi, we have our own issues that we deal with when it comes to cost of living.
Okay,
So these are national depictions. Now, if I walked out to the on the corner of in Starkville, Mississippi, I think people say we're taking a pounding in so many ways, and a lot of that has to do with the way that money is administered when it comes down from the feds. And we have to take a real good close look at that because those are indicators here statewide of how we should choose our leadership here in Mississippi.
okay. Do you believe that the average person feels like that crime has decreased since Mr. Biden's been in office?
Well, it's hard for me to say what folks feel.
Sure.
I feel safer. I feel safer.
Okay.
I would say this because this has been a very critical sticking point for me, and I'm trying to be polite in my delivery. But
Okay.
when we have leadership who says that we have to look at removing or giving back immunity to police officers, that doesn't make me feel any safer, Gilbert. And
Okay.
of course, that was a quote taken from Donald Trump about how we should handle our police departments, which is, if I go a little further, I had a great conversation. Keith Ellison, I don't know if you know who he is or not.
I do.
Keith Ellison, the DA from Minnesota, who actually tried the George Floyd case. One thing that he said that was very profound, he said that good cops are not looking for immunity. And so for me, it's always been a dog whistle to return to days when folks who look like me, believe in the stuff I believe in, may be more in danger than less protected than more so.
Okay.
So leadership does matter. And with that type of tone, yeah, I feel less safe in the world.
Do you think the president has done a good job on the border? What's your position there?
And this is an attempt at humor, I guess, which I'm not great at. But our border patrol problem actually is $7.25. I don't think you have to build a wall in the state of Mississippi to deal with immigration. I think as long as we keep those numbers out there of a mandated minimum wage of 7.25, we don't have to have a worry about an immigration problem.
Okay, you kind of lost me on that. There's no
Well, we talked
secret.
about border patrol.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So I'm talking about just the influx of people who are not American citizens into this country are just being dispersed by the Biden administration out and about. Many of them are committing crime. They're consuming services. Some of them, I agree, they're actually going to work and they're filling these jobs, but they're working for less than the minimum wage. Many of them are. Companies hire them. There's no secret to that because they're able to pay them cash at a lower than the minimum wage is. And I think that attracts a lot of people into this country. That's still a much better standard of living than they could achieve in their home countries. But it just seems to me like most Americans feel like that the border's just wide open.
I don't know if that's the case, and I'm not an expert on
Okay.
border policies.
It's a top
I
issue,
tend
and the
to,
reason I ask, the top issue,
yeah.
all the polls show, and that and economic issues kind of gravitate between 1 and 2 by Americans as they
Do
approach Election Day.
do I believe that immigrants are coming and stealing jobs from Americans? No, I don't. The jobs that you just mentioned, actually, Gilbert, I think was right on point. Those are very low paying jobs that don't require a whole lot as far as education and things of that nature. And I don't know how many Americans actually want to get paid $4 and some change for that. So um, I don't know. I don't know
Okay.
exactly where we are on immigration, but I can definitely
Okay.
say in the state of Mississippi we don't have that issue.
if you can hang around, we can continue the discussion on the other side of the break. We got one on us right now. Can you hang with us?
Sure.
All right. All right. Sounds good. We'll be right back in the Element Wealth studio with Cheikh Taylor, chairman of the Mississippi Democratic Party. We've got Representative Cheikh Taylor, chairman of the Mississippi Democratic Party, serves as the vice chair of the House Constitution Committee. So the state of Florida, Representative Taylor, has a ballot initiative. You know, of course, we don't have one in Mississippi anymore at this point. They've got a ballot initiative that they'll be going to the polls on this fall that would legalize marijuana for recreational use. Is that something that you and or the Democrat Party supports here in the state of Mississippi? Legalizing marijuana for recreation?
Well, you know, that's going to take a little while to develop. I'm in no position to give that standpoint for the party's perspective. I will say that medical marijuana has been a blessing to the state. Medical marijuana has provided relief for hundreds of thousands of Mississippians who actually need use cannabis as a form of medication. As far as recreational use, I think over time, the state legislature, the House and the Senate will come together and look at that very closely. But no, I'm not in a position to definitively say that Democrats are supporting recreational legalization.
Where does the Democrat Party stand on school choice, education freedom? You know, there was a bill this year introduced in the House, didn't make it very far, that would have progressed into full universal school choice. Where do the Democrats stand on this?
It's problematic. It is, and to be honest, with the new matrix that we're using, I'm very excited about it. I was a little disappointed to find that there was over $40 million kind of hidden in that bill to go to charter schools and private schools. The stance is simply this: how can we say that public education will ever work unless we make a wholehearted effort to fully fund it year after year after year? Gilbert, you know that we've only fully funded public education now 3 times in the history of Mississippi. We've had public education for over 100 years, and out of those 100 years, only 3 times that we have the wherewithal to fully fund it in a way that actually gives credence to equity over equality, which is a different analogy. But as far as school choice and school vouchers and things of that nature, it's only one pie. It's only 100% of any pie. When you start taking away from that, you actually disrupt and destabilize the overall purpose, and that's to fully fund public education. So I do have issues when it comes to funding charter schools and private schools out of public dollars.
Okay. What about taxes? How do you feel about the Republicans' plans to further reform income taxes, perhaps even reduce or eliminate sales taxes on groceries? Where do you stand, or does the party stand on the issue of taxes?
Actually, that was one of the centralized focus points for the Presley campaign, talking about lowering taxes. Our grocery tax is something that we can look at very closely and determine whether or not that we should eliminate those. That's something that affects every person in any socioeconomic background, and we know that that will uplift and help Mississippians day one. The personal income tax, that's something that I think every economist in the state of Mississippi had issues with. In fact, we were told as legislators that if we did nothing, it would be better than implementing the elimination of personal income tax. Me personally, I think it would destabilize our economy here in the state of Mississippi. And I know that we're operating on a surplus for now. But usually when you implement a tax as aggressive as that, eliminating personal income, you have to find it from somewhere else. And I'm wondering with this administration, would it be taxing folks that are not part of the corporate structure?
I see. What about sending some money, allocating some money to the Department of Transportation. You've probably heard Executive Director Brad White has called for that. Commissioners, I think all three commissioners have also proposed to the legislature that there be some sort of carve-out, if you will, of some source of revenue so that they could have some recurring revenue to match up with federal money to take on some of these capacity projects.
Yeah, our roads and bridges infrastructure does need repair. There's no way to get around it. That's going to be our lifeblood for any type of economic development project that happens in the state of Mississippi. You need good roads and bridges to do so. You need good, great infrastructure to do that. And oftentimes we have not invested properly in those things. So I actually support those commissioners asking for those increases. We tried to shore it up with the lottery. But as you know, even using $80 million that's generated from the lottery to go towards transportation, that's really just a drop in the bucket of what we need to actually reform.
Right. So would you support some sort of plan, some sort of proposal that would, again, appropriate some recurring type revenue to the Department of Transportation? That's what I believe the transportation folks are asking for.
Yeah, well, we need to say exactly what that is, and the unintended. Sometimes we look at the intended consequences, but the unintended consequences of where we move this money around. But I'm 100% agreeing that something needs to be done, and that our commissioners need help. And as legislators, we should be giving a listening ear and our due diligence to make sure we do something to help.
A recent report indicates that the state of Mississippi is experiencing rather chronic absenteeism in the K through 12 public schools. I'm sure you're aware of that. Should the legislature act on this? Do you think there's a place here for some sort of law, measure, policy?
Well, we are lawmakers, and a lot of times, and this is something that you and I may actually agree with, is that we may be over legislating some things. When I was in school, we had truant officers that would go out and make sure that that if you're hanging out and not attending school, that you had some accountability there. And I do know that portion of our education system is also broken. They are overworked. They spend most of their time in court and not enough time actually going out there and seeing what these issues are to get children back in school, back on track, and making sure that they graduate on time.
Last time you and I spoke about this issue of Medicaid expansion, which was a very widely debated topic in the Capitol this past session. Where do you stand on that now? You told me last time you objected to the work requirement. You thought there were some gotchas there that might be detrimental to the program. What would you like to see happen there?
Well, we got to come back to the table and actually have real conversations about it. And the real intent. Look, 80%, 85% of Mississippians say that they want some form of Medicaid expansion. And it's up to us to figure that out. I think the part that you and I were talking about dealt with not only just the work requirement and that whole idea about I gotcha, is that there were at least 4 or 5 fail safes in there that will get kicked out. So until we look at those things, whether it's a work requirement and putting in a trigger that says if it doesn't go through, that we'll remove the work requirement, then I don't know how dedicated our leadership is to getting that actually out of there and passed. So we have to put the onus back on leadership in the state of Mississippi to make sure that we're listening to the public and giving them exactly what they need, and that's Medicaid expansion.
We got just a minute or so left. Do you think that in public sector procurement, preferential treatment should be granted to vendors on the basis of race, gender, sexual orientation, nationality, ethnicity?
That is a very interesting question. And I stand firmly saying that we still need civil rights. We still need requirements that are equitable in workplaces. I know that folks want to get away, get rid of this idea of diversity and inclusion. But my question always is, if we've had issues, where did they go? If now we don't need these things anymore, where did they go? So I'm a strong advocate to make sure that there are numbers put in place of folks who are well qualified, who can do the work. Um, but yeah, we still need safety rails in how we operate our corporations and
So,
how we
so
deal
we,
with
we got to
time.
go, but I just want to make sure I understand where you stand. You're okay with, in public sector contracting, granting preferential treatment based on race, gender, et cetera.
Well, well, the truth is that there is less than 2% minority participation in government contracts here in the state of Mississippi, and
Gotcha.
actually,
Okay.
it's less than that. It's closer to 1.2%, and so
Appreciate it.
yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it, Representative
Thanks for
Taylor.
having me, Gilbert. All right.
You got it. We're coming right back in the Element Well studio.